It feels like everyone else's dog got the memo and yours didn't. Welcome to The Dog Who Asked for More, a podcast for dog parents navigating the messy, complicated parts of life with dogs that no one really prepares you for. Each week, you'll hear honest, grounded conversations that help you better understand your dog, feel more confident in your choices, and strengthen the relationship you're building together. There's a quiet comparison that happens for a lot of dog parents. Not because you want to compare, not because you don't love your dog, but because you keep seeing examples of what looks easy. Dogs walking calmly, dogs ignoring distractions, dogs settling quietly, dogs fitting into life without so much thought. And it creates this question that doesn't always have words. Why does this feel harder for us? I'm Em, a dog mom, former vet tech, dog trainer, and canine nutritionist who works with overwhelmed dog parents who love their dogs deeply but feel stuck, burned out, or unsure what their dog actually needs. And today we're looking at the idea of the perfect dog, where that expectation comes from, and what it quietly does to the way you see your own dog. Most people don't consciously expect perfection, but they absorb it from social media, from other dog parents, from training advice that shows outcomes without context, from comments that sound harmless but stick. Mine would never do that. You just have to be consistent. They'll grow out of it. You need to train more. And slowly, perfection stops meaning flawless and starts meaning easier, predictable, less effort, less thinking, less explaining. So when your dog doesn't look like that, it starts to feel like you're missing something or doing something wrong. This is where the pressure builds, not from your dog, but from the gap between expectation and reality. I remember realizing how much this lived in my head with Fitz, not as a thought that said he should be perfect, but as a quiet measuring, watching other dogs exist in spaces that felt too complicated for us, watching people move through routines without planning, watching moments that looked simple, and thinking, why does this take so much effort for us? There was a stretch where I kept believing that progress meant we would eventually look like those dogs, calmer, easier, less noticeable. And that belief changed how I experienced wins, because instead of feeling relief, I kept moving the finish line. It wasn't obvious at the time, but the pressure wasn't coming from Fitz. It was coming from the idea that we were supposed to arrive somewhere. What became clear later was this: my dog wasn't failing any expectation. I was holding expectations that didn't belong to us. And letting go of that didn't mean lowering standards, it meant seeing him clearly. In your home, this might look like explaining your dog before something happens, apologizing for behavior automatically, feeling tense when people are watching, minimizing wins because they don't look big enough, thinking progress only counts when things look normal, or feeling like you're always working towards a version of your dog that doesn't quite exist. Not because your dog is too much, but because the picture you absorbed was incomplete. Most dogs aren't effortless. Most dogs need support, context, adjustment, time, advocacy. But perfection edits that out. And when those pieces are invisible, effort starts to feel like failure. Here's the question I want to leave you with. What changes if your dog doesn't need to become easier, just understood? If the idea of the perfect dog has been sitting quietly in the background, you are not alone. It doesn't mean that you expect too much. It doesn't mean that you're judging your dog. It means that you've been surrounded by examples without context. Letting go of perfection doesn't mean giving up. It means removing pressure that was never helping you see your dog clearly. And clarity changes the relationship more than perfection ever could. If your dog's erratic behavior comes out of nowhere and you're constantly worried about being embarrassed in public, the Dog Body Language Secrets quiz will help you spot subtle trigger patterns and give you an idea of how to prevent the behavior at the root cause. The link is in the episode description. So be kind, spread joy, and remember, your dog doesn't need to be perfect to be understood.